Yo, what's good, people? This is Sports Debate Tuesday. It's my man Rob keeping McLean. Got a good fun episode for you people, and the episode starts right now. Engine number 9 on the New York Transit line. If my train falls off the track, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Back on the scene, crispy and clean. What's up, man? It is Rob. Keep it, McLean. I am Jason DeBeers. This is Sports Debate Tuesday. A lot of stuff to talk about on our show, but not different subject matter. It's going to be football and a little bit of MMA. Two of Meryl Streep's favorite sports, MMA, which, by the way, is not an art. So, before we get started, what's good, my man?
Just hanging.
Just hanging. Oh, you got a little dog there, huh?
Yeah, like keep it quiet.
If I tell some jokes, the dog gonna laugh at the joke.
Maybe.
All right, so first things first. All right, stage is set, Rob. The conference champions have punched in their ticket to the Super Bowl. Two teams we classify as the usual suspects had pitted themselves against the improbables, all right, with the Rams playing a team that many said had their number, San Francisco 49ers, and the Chiefs going against a second-year quarterback who would scoff at the notion of happy to be here. Pshaw. But for now, let's draw our attention to the latter. We're going to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, all right? Having to beat the Chiefs by a field goal to get into the playoffs, which actually gave them their conference title a week before the last. They beat the Browns. They beat the Raiders. We weren't surprised, right? They beat the Titans. I was very surprised you weren't. And then we were like, okay, show's over. Cinderella. It's midnight, right? Glass slipper turns into a football cleat, right? Your tour bus turns into a big old pumpkin, and Cinderella has to go home. And at the end of the day, the evil sisters win the prize. But that's not what happened. It's not what happened. Joe Burrow, in just his second season, leads the charge with his similar upstarts and future Pro Bowlers and a beloved coach who has shown all that the kids are all right with Chase, with Mixon, with Burrow, and a hellified defense and an exceptionally underrated coach. So with that being said, with the Chiefs coming in on a 12-game win streak before this loss, here's the question. And if I'm going to give you the floor, yak. The question is, was this a Bengals comeback? Or was this a Chiefs collapse?
Ooh, yeah. For me, I believe this is a Chiefs offensive collapse. I thought the Chiefs defense did fantastic in the first half. I thought there's no way that the Bengals are not going to score a ton of points in the second half. It's just the type of team they are, and they're an offensive based team. So if they're going to lose this game, they're going to lose it trying to air it out. So I knew the Bengals were going to come back. I knew, that the defense couldn't hold up for 3 points for another half again. But for the Kansas City Chiefs offense to not only put up 24 in the first half, 21 in the first half,
okay,
but only 3 in the second half, 3 points. That means if they could have scored a field goal, a touchdown, on any possession, they would have won that game, or at least pressured Cincinnati to be in the situation that they were in, which is, win or go home. And yeah, when you have that situation where you have to tie the game at the end of the game, and then you have to go into overtime and try to win, there's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure to score, whether it's just a field goal or a touchdown, to score on consecutive drives in the playoffs against a tough playoff team. It's tough. It's the tough ask, So yeah, for me, it's the offense of the Chiefs not bailing out the defense of the Chiefs. Because again, the Chiefs, as good as the defense is, they're an offensive-minded team. So they should be winning or losing games on the offense, not depending on their defense to win or lose games. So yeah, I think Andy Reid got out coached in the second half. That's just kind of the deal.
Wow. Okay, Rob. In a good mood today. Keep it. McLean. McLean, if you told me at the half the Kansas City Chiefs were leading an upstart team, the Bengals, a team that lost to the Jets, by the way, remember that they were leading 21-3 at the half. And you ask me, you want to put some money on this? Want to put some jack on that breakfast? I'll be like, I'll take that bet any day of the week and twice on Sunday. Give me, that's free money, Rob. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Fuck me, they lost. I gotta give you all my money. And the reasoning is logical. Let's say Burrow and the comeback kids are able to put up points and get to 21 or get to 24, which leads to me your question about the offense. Who's to say? Even if the Bengals make it to 24 points, who's to say Kansas City on 4 possessions ain't going to score at least a touchdown and a field goal? Or at the rate they were going, 3 more touchdowns, right? I mean, and you made a really good argument for Chiefs collapse more than Bengals comeback. But I go Bengals comeback. And this is a really cool argument, by the way, because we both fucking win. The fans win, all right? I go Bengals comeback because in order for them, the defense got some turnovers, right? But in order for them to score points, you still have to get it into the end zone. You're right. The offense, after they held him to a field goal, the next series they threw an interception, which gave him another opportunity to score. And someone like Burrow, man, I don't even see second year quarterback with that dude no more. I thought he was a pro at LSU. All right. So, and the guy who's by the way, who's not just happy to be there. That dude, do you see his face when he wins? And everybody's like, "Are you surprised?" And he's just like, at this point, you guys keep saying that. I mean, the man is a proven winner and an Ohio native and is going to be a new hometown hero. And I go towards comeback because even though Kansas City allowed them to do that, they still have to find ways to score, right? The Buffalo Bills did. And that ended up being a shootout at the end where the Kansas City used 13 seconds the way the Dallas Cowboys could not, right? So, I go comeback because there was some luck involved, right? In overtime, there was an interception that was dropped, and then the next one there was kind of a tip drill with Hill that wound up just and it fell in someone's lap, which I thought was a more difficult ball to intercept than the one that came straight to and like fell out of his hands, right? And that's the Bengals, right? They beat the tough team, they conquer the tough demons. And they lose to simple shit, right? They lose to the Jets, but they're gonna beat the Raiders, Titans, and now the Kansas City Chiefs. So Burrow, his numbers aren't blowing anybody away, right? 23 for 38, 250 yards, 2 Benny Bones, and a pick. Quarterback rating was 92.5. But the other reason is the coach didn't panic at 21-3. Normally, you're like, all right, we got to throw to come back in this game. And they didn't do that. They stayed patient with Mixon. Mixon against a very stingy Kansas City run defense put up 88 yards. 88 yards of rushing. He also received, I think I got the stats here. He had a long catch of 18 yards, 27 yards receiving altogether. So it was one of those things where we can go stats back and forth, right? Kansas City and this and that, but my argument's more for Cincinnati. So I go comeback because even though Kansas City has allowed the opportunity, they still have to take it. So I want you to finish with any caveat that you have on my thoughts, and you close up shop on this one for me.
Yeah, I think they the opportunities were there for them to take as well. Patrick Mahomes threw two interceptions again. When he for the last 3 or 4 games hasn't really thrown a meaningful interception. Just the big thing is that I thought that the Chiefs got a lot of really easy opportunities, really good field position, and they marched the ball down the field. Where I think Cincinnati even got really tough field position and had to do the same thing. So when it evened out in the second half, that's why I was like, it doesn't feel like 21-3,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a big up to them and staying focused. And again, you look at their defense, what big names do you see of them, top leaders here or there, or interception leaders or sack leaders or forced fumble leaders, or there's none of that. So it's just such a good, really solid team defense. Again, built around their offense, and they just trusted in that. Get him the ball, give him more chances, and he'll do his thing. I don't think I could say the same thing about Patrick Mahomes even at this point. Where their team is saying, "Hey, just give this guy the point; he's going to score us some points." What they're saying is, "This guy's incredible. This guy's amazing. He's a talent." But what Joe has that he doesn't is that impenetrable focus, right? I feel like Patrick Mahomes, even when he was younger, he kept toying with the game, I could say.
Yeah.
He would do
There's a
more
lot
than
of
he
Brett
needed to
Favre,
do.
right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. A lot of gunslinger where you don't have to be a gunslinger. Um, and I think that's showing now. It's not to veer off too far, but this is the kind of the same thing I feel about Steph Curry when he was hitting those 30, 40-foot 3-point shots every single game. And then it came down to the playoffs where he had to hit a simple 3-point shot wide open and he would miss. And it's like, how does that compute? So I think it's kind of the same thing where sometimes players, their superstar persona becomes bigger than their actual skills they have to put on the field every day. And I think Joe Burrow is a perfect mix of that swagger that people talk about having the confidence to do it, but actually executing it and keeping that focus and wanting to work on the execution as opposed to, the individual stats. And I'm not saying any of these guys are individual stats guy, but
Right.
it's hard to sometimes keep that out of your head, especially when you have the media talking about, oh, you did this each and every week. Oh, you threw interceptions, you threw touchdowns, you were great, you were bad. Like people can compartmentalize things only so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Joe Burrow is that perfect mix of tough mentally, but also come out and stay focused and get their players to play better. So
Yeah. Well, for me and you, the reason why we didn't pick Cincinnati because we felt if all of the stars came out to play, like the people you expected to produce produced, Kansas City would win because there's just more of them, right? Like Travis Kelsey, he did his thing. He caught a touchdown pass. I'm looking at Mahomes' numbers
Tyreek,
now. Yeah, Tariq Hill, just the cheetah. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, Travis Kelsey, 95 yards receiving, a touchdown. Tariq Hill, 7 catches for 78 yards. Those are actually low numbers. So everyone did their part. Chase did their part, and I think the one thing that helped them, that helped Cincinnati, was T. Higgins, the guy that they weren't paying a whole lot of attention. Right, and you didn't hear a lot about him because he didn't get in the end zone, but he did catch 6 passes for 103
100
yards,
yards.
including that
Mm-hmm.
44-yarder. Right, so there, of course, you and me think if there's someone else that overachieves or plays beyond that, and all of a sudden we got a ball game, and I had to watch it twice because I had things to do with my kid in between, and then I ended up seeing like the game winning field goal, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I was like, I had to watch the whole thing over, and then you could see by the bags of my eyes, I stayed up last night and I watched it a third time. Um, yeah, so we got different sides of the argument for all the right reasons, and I like that. And I meant to give you the mic drop on that one, but I did want to cite that there were one or two players that had to play above expectations for Cincinnati to win. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, cool. So
And
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
that's
No,
just
go ahead.
crazy. No, it's just crazy that I think everybody played so well in that game. Nobody really showed out,
Right.
and it just showed who has the better team.
Hmm.
And I think since he is the better team, maybe not have the better players, better, coaching, maybe not, but I think they do. But their team, they're grouped together, come together and beat another team. That's great leaders, great leadership.
Yep. Nice. So listen, before we go to topic two, I have to say something very, very important, okay? There's a difference between borrowing and biting, okay? Biting is when you say someone else's rhymes and you don't cite them as your source. So right now I'm biting until I actually tell people that my opening rhyme came from Black Sheep, which to you and me is like common knowledge, but to some people, oh, Jason can rap. No, Jason cannot rap, okay? That was actually a rhyme from Black Sheep, a really cool rap group from the 90s that was part of that tribe called Quest de la Soul Crew. You know what I'm saying? So Black Sheep. So I'm no longer biting. I'm just borrowing. Topic two. Got to talk about the NFC Championship game. We got to talk about the Rams. The Rams. Oh my God. They beat the Niners to make the second reservation at SoFi, which happens to be their home stadium, which happens to be the second year in a row that the host of the Super Bowl has their own team playing in it. So big up to them. So we've already set the stage in the previous topic. So I'll get right to the question. Rob, what or who won this game for the Rams?
Ooh. For me personally, when I'm watching the game, I really didn't think that the Rams defense showed out until maybe the fourth quarter.
Boy,
I didn't
Aaron
really
Donald
think.
gave it to him. Boy, I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, he shut that game
Gave
down.
him the
But
business to his teammates. Go ahead.
for the most of the game, I didn't really feel like they were dominating San Francisco. I just felt like San Francisco wasn't really executing. They really made sure to shut down that run game. I thought Shanahan should have probably run the ball more. I thought they were doing a very effective job running the ball, and they just kind of abandoned it. Um,
Hmm.
but if we're talking about the most important players of the game, I honestly have to go with Cooper Cup slash Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
Um,
What a connection,
because
huh?
yeah, I mean, I really do believe that Cup has a deeper effect on other players, the receivers, whether that he gets doubled or he tries to, get people to understand what their job is. But it's always, again, at the end of the game or when they really need it, he actually does show up. And I don't know if that's he breaks his player or, he understands at a certain time or they put him in a situation to exploit the defense at a certain time. But he always finds a way to make that offense move a little more smoothly. And I honestly wish they could push the ball through him a little bit more. Because I think the Rams run game is pretty suspect. Um, and they basically just rely on their pass game. I'm still surprised, honestly, that they won that game. I thought the 49ers would win that game hand over hand, and I really thought they were going to win after that interception that this guy missed, Tart missed, and I was still surprised that the Rams won the game. But more, big ups to them, and I would love to see a Super Bowl out in the LA area with the LA Rams. I think that's fantastic, great story. But I still think that the Bengals. Honestly, I think the Bengals gonna win this game. I think the Bengals gonna win this game. So we'll
Good.
see. It's gonna be fun.
We're gonna do picks next week because we got 2 weeks to wait for that. But
Mm,
and that gives me a week to because right now we're 6-6. So we're tied. We're tied this weekend. I think we won and we won one. We lost one. We both picked the same
hmm
teams. Um, so Rob, keep it McLean. I gotta go with when I came into this podcast. I originally said the GM. Because they traded second rounds and first rounds and all these picks to
Sure.
get certain people. Like they made sure Aaron Donald had a sweet contract. They made this gangster move trade for Matthew Stafford for Goff when Stafford's only been in the playoffs one time. But they saw something that a lot of people didn't. But to our credit, we did. We knew Stafford could throw, and we knew he had a little comeback kid in him, and we knew we seen him with a shoulder that was like bum, the other shoulder was dislocated, but his good arm was good, and he's throwing. And he was often criticized for always being injured, but I disagree with that. I would say hurt. Tell my audience what the difference between injured and hurt is.
One you can play, one you can't.
And he has never not played. He has only been injured. The collarbone thing that I think he had to have surgery or some kind of rehab. That was the only time he was truly out. Every other time that man has played, and that's why I was one of the few people that believed he can take him to the promised land. Though I didn't think it would be this year because I just thought Rodgers was really good.
Well,
But
they also didn't have Odell at the beginning of the year. They also didn't
yep,
have,
which
Von Miller at the beginning of the
which
year. They
supports
also
my
didn't have,
GM argument, right? Which
right.
which basically said, look, we are willing to trade the future to try to win now. If we're gonna win now, that's when it has to be. And you get Beckham, right? You make sure Aaron Donald's happy. You get Stafford. You get a Von Miller, who is I mean, that's just a gift that falls out of the sky because the only thing bigger than that man's passion for the game is his condition, and he's always in good shape. I don't know what that man's eating at home, but keep on eating it. So, Garoppolo, I mean, he was who we thought he was. He can light up the scoreboard for 400 yards, but if his coach says don't throw a lot, throw it away, he's going to do that. And of course, he's going to get a shitload of blame for doing what he's asked to do, right? If they have 11 straight runs, oh, it's because the quarterback can't throw. No, you dummy. It's because 11 straight runs got 4 first downs. So, I mean, these are things that Garoppolo is probably going to take the hot L on. But I got to go with, instead of the GM, I changed my mind. I'm going with Stafford. Stafford, At the end, he did throw a ball that should have been intercepted, but if you take into account some of the balls that he threw straight to people that got dropped, there was a slant and go, there was a sluggo to Cooper Kupp. He just saw the end zone, forgot to secure the ball, dropped it. A ball that was dropped in the end zone, and I got my wife talking about, oh, that's not an easy catch, that's a hard catch, and I'm like, for me, for me, that's a hard catch. For me, this guy is a professional receiver. You don't have to. You shouldn't have to be Odell Beckham Jr. to catch that ball, Rob. You should not have to be even a superstar receiver. Okay, if this guy's like waiting tables during the day and he's moonlighting football, yeah, okay, you got it. He dropped it. Shit happens. No. So, in light of the fact that this man got a lot of his good passes dropped, he did this with his helmet for like 1 second. And there was like, whoa, body language, right? He comes up to his receivers defend him. So I give Matthew Stafford the rub on this because of the same weekend as last week. Last week, Tom Brady came back. The Rams were shit in the bed. They were turning over the ball, and Tom Brady's like, keep turning it over. I'm gonna win this game. And with 29 seconds left, when people were looking towards overtime, this dude with the muscles between his ears, with the 20/20 vision in his eyes and a pair of balls between his legs, there was a deep route to Cooper Kupp, who we thought was just going to score. And that was last week to this week. And I picked Stafford because they believe that when it counts, I remember how we tease the Cowboys? Some way, somehow, when it counts, just wait, they will let you down. That's not what Stafford's doing. When it counts, just wait. This man has delivered the best to his ability. Gotta give him the rub. But the GM, look, there's an argument for the GM who actually said, okay, you want to win now? These are the pieces. So great game. Two deserving teams, right? 49ers played great ball. You know, it's not easy to beat the Cowboys, in that stadium. It's not easy to beat Green Bay in the tundra. And Deebo Samuel on Twitter defended his quarterback. He's like, all you guys that are criticizing him, look up his win-loss record, his career win-loss record. I'll wait. And I was like, ooh. I'm a punt it back to you, but Rob, I'm going to leave you with this question. How many wide receivers, the biggest diva in all of sports, certainly in the sport of football, do you see on social network saying something nice, defending their quarterback? Those motherfuckers run. And they're just like, all right.
I mean, all the good quarterbacks get defended. You know, all the guys that get their guys the ball. You know, I I haven't heard Matthew or a Goff get defended, or I don't even know. Like, honestly, Derek Carr gets defended.
Yeah. Well, that was a true team.
So
that was a true team. We're going to talk about that later, about the new hire and what it does to the team morale. We'll repair that at the end of the quick question. Yeah. Cool, man. Anything else you want to say about this game? It was a great weekend, huh? Great weekend of football.
It really was. I mean, both games are really good in their own way. Yeah, I really wish I would have seen the 49ers in it, but yeah, it was a good game. I think
well, 1988 rematch.
That's right.
That was the last time the Bengals were in the Super Bowl. They played the Niners. There was Boomer Esiason, giving away my age. Boomer Esiason and Joe Montana. Yep.
Jeez.
That's the second time they played each other. The first one was known as The Drive. I don't know if you know about that little documentary called The Drive.
Heard. Oh, yeah.
It's like they're down. They have 98 yards to go or something crazy like that. And Joe Montana's in the huddle, and he's like, "Do you guys see John Candy was over there?" And everybody's just looking at him like, and that's why they were calling him Joe Cool. Like, he's not like, "All right, we got to come back." It wasn't like some big speech. He was just like, "John Candy's over there." R.I.P. God rest his soul, John Candy. Love the movie Splash. All right, so cool. Third topic question. We were going to cover something else, but this fell in our lap. Two big retirements. Sean Payton decided to hang up his Spurs, and we'll talk about him at the end because his retirement got totally overshadowed about Tom Brady. Tom Brady. Topic 3. Going to my teleprompter here. Topic 3. After 22 seasons, Tom Brady is hanging up his football cleats. Besides wanting to maintain his health and spending more time with his family, he left the game not owing anyone a damn thing. There are a lot of GOAT discussions in sports, but as he closes out his career, he really put that debate to bed. So, Rob, we're going to say something nice about him, or not. What is the one thing you want to remember about Brady that was good for football, or fuck it, I'll even say for bad for football. We don't. I mean, right? So, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first? I'm excited about my
Um,
boyfriend.
I can go first.
Go ahead. Give what's one or two things that you want that you thought he did well or not well that you want football to remember.
Well, I would even say, the thing that he did that was great for football was giving more trust and an inspiration in the draft. I mean, everybody wants to talk about his whole career, but he started as that 6th round pick, and everybody wants to talk about the 6th round pick. But think about what 6th round picks are coming out now. Like you don't hear about them, and if you do, but they're never a quarterback. They're never a superstar quarterback, and they're never a quarterback who's been with the team for 20 seasons, who gone to Super Bowl. I mean, that's unheard of. I mean, just a successful quarterback in the 6th round would be great, but one of the greatest of all time, it's just crazy. So I think my biggest thing was that he gave more inspiration to draft players all the way through all the rounds and to do your homework, right? Just because that, top 5 pick is your quarterback, maybe you pick another guy in the 5th round, you see something different about, and you let them battle it out, or you let them battle it on the practice squad. But, just don't look past the 3rd round and then be like, all right, day two, I don't really want to put in my work. Coaches put in the work, GMs put in the work. I think that my big takeaway from Tom and his career. But individually as a player, I think just this intensity, that just because he's passionate doesn't mean that he's against you. It's just he needs you to be a certain way to reach his goals. And if that's not your thing, then that's cool. But we both need to move on. And I think he's just a very uh, out outspoken about himself. This is how I'm going to be, and I'm going to win or lose on how I am. And if that wins or lose, then I'm successful. I mean, if I am who I am throughout my life, I'm successful. Win or lose.
I like that. I like that. Listen, 22 seasons, 20 with the Patriots. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. I'm a New York Giants supporter, and I'm a New York Jets sympathizer. Now, when you look at two of those three teams, the bane of their existence was the New England Patriots. For a long time, the Buffalo Bills have been the Patriots' favorite beat-up toy. You look on the calendar, oh, it's Buffalo. Let's try some shit. All right. I, as a Buffalo Bills fan, have every reason to hate the Patriots, but if I had one reason to like the Patriots, it's because of Thomas Edward Patrick Brady. This man has never been noted to have a strong arm. This man is never noted to be a super athlete. This man is never known to leave the pocket or whatever. This man is never known to be like this big slinger. He's never known to be physically imposing. If you ever saw his rookie picture, he had baby fat. He looked literally like a little boy. And on the combine, it was embarrassing. It's something you, as an elite athlete, can run backwards and probably beat him. And you take all of those things. Rodgers throws better than him. Montana was more cool than him. Stafford was more gutsier than him. Dak was more athletic than him. Vic was more dynamic than him. All of those people had all-star receivers. All of them had good offensive lines. And there they are. And here he is. Inarguably the GOAT, the greatest of all time. The guy who won Super Bowls. Like with Montana, you could always make an argument he had Rice. And he had Roger Craig, and he had Charles Haley and Ronnie Lott that are gonna create turnovers and get him the ball back and get him more opportunities, right? You Dwight Clark, you Tom Rathman. You're always gonna make an argument that guy had stars. Tom Brady had two stars. He had Randy Moss in a Super Bowl he lost, a perfect season, an almost perfect season by the way, and what, Antonio Brown, or maybe Deion
No,
Branch. Deion Branch got Super Bowl MVP, right?
but I mean, I think Gronk, at a certain time, the Gronk Wes Welker
Yeah.
kind of connection was a superstar thing.
I agree. I agree with Wes
I have to
Welker
agree with that.
because he had success outside of the Patriots. It wasn't like, and Gronk has only been a Patriot, so we don't have a vector or like a comparative. So my hand is forced to agree with you on that. But the thing I will remember about him is sometimes he goes psycho Tom, right? You noted. I've seen him light up some rookies and shit. I'm like, has he lost his fucking mind? But this man's ability to be humble, to have all those rings and maintain this heightened level of humility and pick people up when they're down on and off the court, which is a whole other conversation. We're trying to bang this out in less than 50 minutes, okay? So we ain't talking about off the court. But his ability to restructure his contract to make other people happy because he knows he already has money. He's got good endorsements. He's got a supermodel wife that can buy him twice. You're a broke bitch. Um, and for him to do these things that you don't see quarterbacks or star positions do is how I want him to be remembered. His ability to pick other people up around him, knowing that he doesn't mean shit if he can't pick up other people around him and elevate them that help them elevate him. We saw that in New England. We saw that in Tampa Bay. He did have an all-star cast, but Rob, I want you to consider this, and I'm going to give you the floor back. How many people, some divas, some not, some humble, some arrogant, how many people in mass are willing to say, look, I'll do a different contract. I want to play with Brady. That's what the fuck happened at Tampa Bay. Don't see that with Rodgers, except with Devontae Adams, right? You don't see that with Mahomes. You don't see people saying, I'll take a pay cut to play with that guy. The guy who can't throw, the guy who can't run, the guy who's overrated. Come on. That's how I want Brady to be remembered, his humility. And on 2 occasions where he could have just told the league to go to hell, all right? Like after that Deflategate thing, based on evidence that he had to know, he already had 3 rings. I would have been like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he should be like, y'all can all go to hell. I'm out of here. I'm done. I can't believe this happened. The other instance, right? The Patriots decided they don't want him. He wanted to finish a Patriot. Yeah, and he could have just said, all right, to hell with y'all. I'm out. Mic drop. Did it? He went another way. And that's Rob, and that's it. Because I love the guy so much, I got to shut up. But that's how I would like Brady to be remembered. The best of all time in his greatest humility. Man in the Arena, I really don't like that because you're there.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, but Man in the Arena, the documentary I love. I just don't like the name. I just don't. Unless you're in a combat sport, there's nothing that identifies with being in an arena, knowing victory or defeat on that level, and not even football. No, sorry, gladiators didn't make millions if they won. They got to live until the next event. So stop it. But go ahead.
Big difference. Yeah, I would just say, Tom, the one thing that Tom did come into was a perfect situation,
Good coach,
and
right?
that isn't not only that, he had a great coach. He had a starting quarterback that was already well established in Drew Bledsoe, and he had a fantastic defense. So you
Bledsoe.
have the perfect situation for him to come in and
Oh, you mean Winston?
do very
Sorry, let
well.
me interrupt. Winston, right? It was Winston, Jameis Winston, not Bledsoe. Tampa Bay.
No, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when Tom Brady got drafted
Oh,
by the
please.
Patriots.
Got you.
He came into an absolutely perfect situation, with the Ted Bruschi and all those guys on defense. Then Richard Seymour. I mean, you had a stacked defense, and then you had all he
Bledsoe.
had to do was do what he'd been doing for 20 years, which is work the football down the field. I mean, he had experienced wide receivers at that time. He had experienced line at that time. They were a Super Bowl championship team before Tom Brady. Tom Brady went in there and he did his work for
Would
the
they have won
first
with Bledsoe?
3. No, no. But I'm just saying it is what it is. They
Yeah.
would not have won with Bledsoe because 1, he clearly was injury prone. And 2, he was on the end of his career. So
Yeah.
he was trying to do what Peyton was doing, but not even close to Peyton's level, right?
Yeah.
So I just think that, Drew Bledsoe's game didn't really age very well. But yeah, I think Tom came into a perfect situation. He stayed in the perfect situation, right? I mean, there must have been offensive coordinators changing, defense coordinators changing, his line changed, wide receivers changed, but like he stayed in the same place for 20 years. That longevity has huge
Oh.
dividends to pay off for, his career and how he's consistent and how he's not only portrayed, but they had to play in the AFC East.
Yeah.
No offense to AFC East, but I mean, you got the Jets twice a year, you got the Bills twice a year. Before 5 years ago, the Bills weren't really that something to
Well,
really
the
worry
Jets were a
about.
playoff team under Herm Edwards. right?
Yeah, but again,
And
that was what 2 years removed from the butt fumble. You know what I mean? I mean
no, that was
that
Sanchez. That was
that
Sanchez.
yeah,
No,
that's what I'm
Herm
saying. But
Edwards
that was
was
two
Chad
years
Pennington.
removed.
Was Pennington?
But that
Okay.
was like, but that was like 2 years removed. And that team, come on now, like Chad Pennington, that team was not real
No,
competitive.
no one in the look. No one in the AFC East
Come
is
on,
going to the Super Bowl. But I don't. I gotta disagree with. It's not
you
like the
can
NFC. No, but it's not like the NFC East where you knew the Cowboys were gonna feast on them. You know.
this 1 year.
I agree. Yeah.
Come on, the NFC East has always been more competitive as a complete division than the
Well, yeah.
AFC East.
The
Like
correlation's
that's
there.
no
Yeah, the correlation's there.
born for. And then the Jets have never been playoff competitive. I don't care what their record has been. They have
No.
never been playoff
No.
competitive.
Last
That's
time
just
they were
what
in the
it is.
playoffs was when? 2010. In
Yeah,
fact, they hold the longest streak right now of not being in the playoffs right now. They made the AFC Championship game with Rex Ryan
deservedly
2 years
so.
in a row. Right, and yeah, okay.
Still didn't like him. I'm just saying, like
No,
as a New York fan, New York Jets have never been competitive. Even the Giants, who had maybe a worse record that season, what they built
hmm,
was more playoff competitive.
yeah,
And this kind of goes to the teams we're talking about. I don't think Green Bay is playoff competitive. I think that they're regular season competitive, but every time they hit the playoffs, something happens, something
yeah.
switches, and it's just maybe it's the weather.
I will say this in support of your argument: from 1991 to 2021, which is what 20 years. I'm old. That's 20 years. 91 to no 01, 11. That's 30 years. All right, in 30 years, at least 10 times you had a team from the NFC East in the Super Bowl, right? You had the Cowboys 3 times. You had the Washington Redskins once. You had the Eagles twice. And you had the Giants 3 times. So you're right. Yeah, the NFC least is a very, very temporary thing. But I mean, if they're so bad, why the hell did I get teams in the Super Bowl like 1/3 of the time? Which out of 32 teams, you got those 4 teams, and that's not bad. It's not bad at all. So cool, man.
That's what it is. But yeah, Patriots, man, they that's like the Cavaliers for LeBron. Like of course he's gonna make the playoffs. Of course he's gonna make it the playoffs because you don't have to worry about anything. The
Yeah.
East was whack back then, so
Well,
yeah,
there was definitely one season he dragged him to the finals, kicking and screaming. It's almost
very
like he was
first
the
though.
only one. No, that was the first one, but the one where remember the one where Jr. Was dribbling the ball around. Was
But
Jr.
that
was
was
dribbling the
like
ball
past the
around.
time. If they could ever have won that series, it would have been right there. But after he did that, that series was
No, but
over
that season and that playoff run was
for
the
sure.
season where I thought LeBron was the only one that wanted to be there. Maybe at the end I show
Yeah.
a video of his face, like what do you do? Like at the end, and
Oh
then
no, I
he knew the
remember.
cameras are watching, and all of a sudden he had to like retool. Oh, what a shame! What a
Yeah,
shame! There we
Jr.
go. We got it. It's coming up. It's coming up, Rob. That's our next topic. My personal favorite, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you to shame or not to shame.
Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame.
All right, Bobby, let's plug in that shame and not to shame. There goes our clock. There goes our 1 minute. Rob, we have one topic for to shame or to not to shame, Rob. Rob, keep it McLean, to shame or not to shame. Let's go to my thingy. Barry Bonds, snubbed by the Hall of Fame. According to the Washington Post, Bonds in sworn testimony first acknowledged he used performance-enhancing drugs in 1998. And the argument was at that point he already racked up 3 MVPs, 8 All-Star Game invites, and 8 Gold Gloves and 7 Silver Sluggers. So the Washington Post said if his career had ended in 1998, Bonds would be a lifetime 290 hitter with 411 home runs, 1,917 hits, 1,200 plus ribbies, walks, and 289 intentional walks, and a 9.966 on base OPS. So, Rob, to shame or not to shame, Hall of Fame snubs Barry Bonds. Floor is yours.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know which way the shame's going here, but the shame's on Bonds. No shame on the people who voted him in, or did not vote him in. And this goes back to just the 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 connection between the fans and the players, and it's on many different levels. But there has to be a trust that the game itself is fair, right? And it goes back to Pete Rose, or it goes back to the 1918 or the 1908 1918 Black Sox scandal. It just the fans need to trust the sport. So if you got a corked bat like Sammy Sosa, if you're taking PEDs like a Mark McGuire, you look at another guy and you're like, oh, well, that guy's a pipsqueak. He can't do anything. But that guy used to be Barry Bonds, who used to be an all-star player who could run, who could hit, who could steal bases, who could play the field. Do you realize that Barry Bonds took all of his athleticism, all of his ability as an all-around baseball player, took that out, sat in the back seat for his team, right, as an all-around baseball player, and then said, I'm gonna hit home runs. I'm gonna be a DH. I'm not even gonna play the field anymore because I can't, because I'm so big, my body doesn't move correctly anymore, but I'm gonna hit home runs. Yes, he absolutely should have been snubbed from the Hall of Fame because the stats that he put up before were not what he did throughout his entire career. He did that on PEDs. Afterwards was home runs, and before he was an all-around baseball player for his team. That would have put him into the Hall of Fame. If it was just about home runs, he'd be sitting there like Frank Thomas, who wasn't a PED user, who was only a DH, and he was a fantastic player. But he only had one facet. You can't say that Barry Bonds. Sorry, I went over a minute, but you can't say Barry Bonds anything about the field, right? Anything about anything other than being a home run hitter and say that he helped his team, because he literally hurt his team by not being a fielder, which he was. He was absolutely a Gold Glove, the ability of being a Gold Glove outfielder, and then
He won Gold
was
Gloves
able
on
to.
it.
That's what I mean. He had
Yeah.
the ability. He didn't do that after a certain point, but he had the ability. He
Well,
stole bases,
yeah.
which was different for a home run hitter. He played the. I mean, he was an all around baseball player. Sacrificed that to have fame and fortune for himself, and that's why I believe that he's not a Hall of Fame baseball player, because it really isn't about the stat. At a certain level, it's about the stats, but then at another level, it's really about how you affect your team, what you do with your team. And again, he wasn't a winner.
This
He was
is
not.
it's not first ballot,
So
right? This isn't
no,
first
this is
ballot
his
for.
last ballot. No, this is his last ballot. He's done for good.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. With prejudice, huh?
yeah.
Hmm.
Mm,
All right, so my turn, Rob.
sure.
So before I start my minute, the whole thing, the DH, I'm gonna push back on you because the DH San Francisco Giants, there is no DH in the National League. So, however they were able to spare him from field or whatever, taking him off is probably a whole different story. But as to the question, should he be snubbed? Did he deserve to be snubbed, or shame on the Hall of Fame? I gotta go no shame for all of the same reasons you said. This is supposed to be a debate show, and I'm always looking to find ways to disagree with you. But sometimes when your takeaway is immaculate, I don't have a whole lot of legs to stand on. But I will say this: as of the question before he used up or got caught, sorry, not used, not used, but got caught using, were those numbers good enough to get him to the Hall of Fame? Maybe not first ballot, maybe not second ballot. I would argue last ballot, but at the same time, there's no evidence to support or deny that he was taking performance enhancing drugs 1 year before he got caught, 2 years before he got caught. I mean, the performance enhancing drugs might have given him a burst that put him over the top to make him win the home run title. But people have to consider the overnight performance probably didn't come from the overnight first time taker. That was, I think him taking drugs was a residual effect that led to that home run title. So people are like, oh, his stats were good before he got caught. But I'm like, who's to say if he lied about it all that time? Who's to say he's not lying that he didn't take it 2 years before he got caught, 3 years before he got caught, 1 year before he got caught? So it's one of those things that if they let him in last ballot just on those raw numbers before he got caught, okay and not okay. But he, like you just said, he decided how he wanted to be remembered. And baseball is completely grateful of him, Mark McGuire, and Sammy Sosa juicing the fuck up to make people watch this home run race, and baseball was back. you know. And if the gig was up, they probably thought baseball would take a hit, but they thought baseball being back was better for baseball than how baseball got hit. And I can't disagree with those people more. It hurt the fucking sport. It hurt the fucking sport. Last but not least, and you probably wanted to say this at the end, so I'm hoping I'm not stealing this from you. Pete Rose isn't in the Hall of Fame because he cheated. A guy who bet on himself, not bet against himself, not thrown games. A guy that bet on himself is not in the Hall of Fame. But this guy, you want to give this guy a pass? You want to give Mark McGwire a pass? You want to give Roger Clemens a pass? You want to give all these people a pass? I give Andy Pettitte the pass. Andy Pettitte came clean, apologized, pitched 4 more years later, and still put up numbers. Those are the guys who were like, they made a mistake. I got sent to the principal's office, and now I'm a good boy. Can you forgive me? My answer is yes.
Retribution. You know, and the same thing. Unfortunately, one of these days is going to happen with the Houston Astros, because all those guys are leaving the Houston Astros. Carlos Correa is going to be leaving. George Springer already left. I mean, and the people that were really affected by it will always remember those people, you know, but eventually it'll kind of just go under the bus and it won't be a big thing. And Houston will have their championship and nobody will remember till they bring it up. But at the end of the day, you know, you just got to know who those players are and what they're about. And yeah, not my favorite.
Right.
I just wish, I think that what they have to do is just go to another place and prove that they are capable of playing at that same level. Like, what's his name? Ryan Braun. He went back. He came back after his steroid stint, and he sucked. He played like he was a 5'9", 160-pound guy.
Didn't it remind you of Vitor Belfort? That man went from jacked 40-year-old to dad bod Vitor, man. Yeah, you're right. There's a correlation from stopping and seeing how you do, you know?
So unfortunately, some of these players who got it on the end of their career, like the Rafael Palmeiro and the Jose Cansecos, and they can't prove that they would still be able to play with whatever they had or didn't have, or how much they did have, or how much it affected them, or if it was an Andy Pettitte, I'm trying to get healthy, or it was I'm trying to get in the gym, Barry Bonds, and get bigger. You know, those are two sides of the coin. But at the end of the day, you know, you still did it. That was your choice. And now you either can go out like that, or you can prove, like even Tom Brady did. You can go and prove that I wasn't just a part of that system. I wasn't just a PED user. I was a baseball player that was using that to get healthy, or using that to get faster and stronger. You know, either way, you have the opportunity to prove, you know, to have retribution, to have a second say on what happened, you know.
100%. When Frank Thomas got inducted into the Hall of Fame, for him to have to say "I never used" is a test. I mean, to volunteer that information is a testament to how bad it has become, and it's ingratiated into the culture of Major League Baseball. You know, we all understand. Sometimes you just got to say, "I'm sorry." Do you, Tom? You know, and see if you can have some redemption. Me and you are big believers in redemption. Okay. As far as PEDs, right? What are your two choices? The two obvious choices: you fucking hide until it blows over and then redeem yourself, or you get on that podium and say, "I used." Say, "I used performance-enhancing drugs to enhance my performance." Okay, you're idiots. I'm not gonna take something that's gonna diminish my performance. That's why I took it. There'd be a little bit more respect, you know.
I mean, there's also pushback to that too. Like, you got these clubs and these professional teams and organizations pushing, you know, pain pills on all these professional players, all professions. But you know, you can't do something for yourself to almost preemptively combat that. So
yeah.
Just interesting.
Well, Dana White said that, right? You can get painkillers fast, and you can get, you know, the other thing. He's like, that's a fact. He's like, I'm not a doctor, but that's a fact.
I mean, I'm sure he can.
Well, that was so weird because at the time now he can, because he's a gangster like that. But he said at the time when he got it, it wasn't some rich guy stuff. At the time it was available, but now he, like you said, he says, no, you got to be him. You got to be him to get it. So Rob, coming up next, your favorite topic, Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you. We're not gonna have quick answers, but this is quick question. Bobby McGee. We only have a handful of quick questions, so they don't require quick answers. But if they're quick answers, let's move on, okay? Quick question. The Raiders hired Josh McDaniels as their head coach. Dave Ziegler, who is also who's now the GM, I think both were from the Patriots. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Huge thumbs up. I love an offensive minded head coach, uh, with a Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, and their emerging receiving core. I think they have a fantastic future. So
I say thumbs up, but I'm a little sad that neither one of us can remember the name of the interim head coach that did such a great job in John Gruden's absence.
I can't say it. Rich
That kept them around.
Bosieka or something.
Yeah, thank you for
I
that.
don't know how to say
Thank
it.
you, because we should never forget that guy's name for the work he did under the circumstances that led to one of the best regular season games, the last game of the season that decided the fate of three teams. Hope he gets work. Very deserving. Very, very deserving. I guess Bieniemy don't want a job because he could have interviewed for that and got it.
I
Um,
mean, you're literally the offensive coordinator for Patrick Mahomes. I think you're all right.
yeah, you
What I
really
think is
are.
going to happen is Andy Reid is an old man. I mean, he's got to step down sometime soon.
And I
So who
think,
not to?
yeah, maybe they'll try to do it that way. That's what
That
Parcells
makes a
tried to do
lot
with
more sense,
Belichick, right?
right? That
Yeah.
makes a lot more sense of why they're trying to keep him as like. I mean, any offensive coordinator that's a big name always gets a head coaching job like
Mm.
right away, or they go to college and they get a head coaching position, or it's like it's very, 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 very strange that an offensive coordinator that's almost a superstar in his own right is not getting any type of looks or doesn't want to take those looks. So,
No doubt. Andy will be loved too, man. Andy right now, Reed is entering the top five GOAT conversation. We have our ones and we have our one A's. We have Bill Walsh, right? You got Bill Belichick. You got Bill Parcells, anyone whose first name is Bill, for Christ's sakes. Lombardi, right? So there'll be an argument for a lot of those people, and I think Andy's hovering around where if there's an argument, even if he loses the argument, that's a win for him as far as GOAT conversations is
I mean,
concerned.
Bill Belichick's going to be up there before he is.
Well,
So,
Bill
and
Belichick to me
neither of
is
them are
one.
stopped coaching.
Belichick's one. The ability
That's what I'm saying.
to instill.
So,
I mean, I like these guys that
I
change the
mean,
culture. They change the way you play football. A lot of these guys on any other team don't win without Reed guiding them through here, wherever. Reed, how many Super Bowls? He lost with the Eagles, right? He won with the Chiefs and lost with the Chiefs. So,
mhm.
you know, he's in that territory. And having one chip helps because Marv Levy, unfortunately, Buffalo Bills fans will remember, and it's a shame that a lot of people won't get in the four Super Bowls in a row. Um,
I mean, I still got my old heads. I still like, Lombardi, like you said, Bill
yep.
Walsh. I mean, I think
The
there's a long list
West
before
Coast
it gets to
offense.
Andy Reid.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
the guy who invented the West Coast offense. Yeah. Yep.
then you got Belichick. I mean, I think there's a couple of coaches before,
Yeah.
Parcells. I even like Jimmy
Parcells.
Johnson in there. I
Yep.
even like John Madden in there. I mean, he went through a gangle of Super Bowls all at once.
He
Like
really did.
that's
At a time where you were allowed to hit people.
and he was doing the hitting. So,
I like his style of coaching because he let crazy people be crazy. He had a
mhm.
bunch of crazed dogs on that team, and he, as a coach, found a way to take that aggression and anger and harness it into a team effort to try to achieve a Super Bowl ring. And you know that could go another way, right? If you let the dogs off the leash, you're it's so high risk that they're gonna fucking bite people and eventually gonna bite you. So, that's Madden's genius to let dogs be dogs and not. You don't hear a lot of controversy in his team, and coaches and stuff. So, quick question, Rob. This is a repeat question. We're gonna probably ask this once a month. Will the Lakers miss the playoffs?
I honestly don't think so. But I'd love to be proven wrong.
I don't think so either. I think they have enough to get in. Um, is Vogel in trouble? Is his job in trouble?
Oh, no doubt. Any coach that is coaches with LeBron is going to be a scapegoat. That's just what it is.
I'm still a fan of Blatt. I got to
Right?
watch that guy coach in the Russian league, and boy, did he get a raw deal.
Yeah, he did.
He
And he
gets,
coached well too.
he
He
really
set
did,
it up right there for Tyron Lue. And Lue was just like,
and
thank
Lou
you. I'll
gets all the
take my
fucking credit.
coaching career.
I'm
Literally.
so angry about that too.
Yeah,
Uh,
me too.
UFC. Who? Quick question: who wins between Jack Hermanson and Sean Strickland?
I'm gonna
Who?
go with Hermanson.
I'm going with Strickland. I think
There you
Hermanson.
go.
Listen, Hermanson's a smart pick, but Strickland is a dog, and he surprises people every time. When you think he's gonna wrestle, when you think he's gonna strike. So, ooh, we got something fun to talk about next week because
I want to
they
see
can't.
what
They
he
both
does in the
can't be winners,
cage.
huh?
I want to see what Strickland does in the cage.
Right.
I want to see what he does in the cage.
Yep.
That's all I want to
That's
see.
it. Yep. So, all right, that's a quick question. But before we go, I got two things before we go. Big up to the Chiefs, donated to a hospital in Buffalo, charity of a hospital that needed some money because of, I guess, hospital beds and like medical care and this and that. Because the Chiefs saw the Buffalo Bills donate to the Cincinnati Bengals a couple of years ago to their favorite charities, and they use their charities for hospitals. So they were inspired by the Buffalo Bills, and then they did a pay it forward, and I'm hoping to see other NFL's teams see the Chiefs do it and then just constantly keep that son bitch rolling. Anytime they could take some of their money and write it off, maybe probably get the money back anyway, but at least donate to a different cause. That, my friend, is the American way. Also, before we go, we have to not let Tom Brady's retirement overshadow Sean Payton. Give me maybe a small paragraph of what you want to remember about Peyton.
Oh, well, it's tough because I don't want to be tough on him because I think he's a fantastic offensive-minded coach. I mean, genius in a sense that he almost reinvented Breeze's career. I thought Breeze probably should have been out of the league maybe a couple years ago,
After
and
the
then he just
Chargers, right? Yeah.
after the Chargers, and it was just like, well, maybe after like 2 or 3 years at the Saints, after the Superdome where they went, or they almost went to the Super Bowl, right? Or they went and they
They went and
lost.
won. Yeah.
Did they go and win?
Beat the
Oh,
Colts. Yeah.
in the dome. So it was just like a great situation. But then it was like 2 years after that, stuff was going down, and then the Bounty Gate. I
Bounty
mean,
Gate. Mhm.
I thought as soon as Peyton came back from Bounty Gate, he was a different coach. Maybe the connection was off with him and Breeze, or like they were getting new players and trying to implement. And the only time I really saw that there was a real offensive thing going on with Breeze and Peyton was when Michael Thomas came in there.
Huh.
So maybe they didn't have, the GM wasn't on track with them, or I don't know. But yeah, I thought this was the right time for Peyton to leave because if you really think about it, come back from the Bounty Gate. You want to see, what's working with Drew. You still got Drew there, so if you got Drew, you can do anything.
Mhm.
And then Drew left, and you still, I thought he could have left then. Uh, and then you kind of have to see what you got. Maybe you have Jameis, maybe you have a great defense, maybe you can, maybe you're that coach that was more than your players, and you can make this team into some Super Bowl contender. But it just wasn't there. So I think this is the right time for him. Do I think he's done coaching for the rest of his life? I don't. I think that
I
he'll
think,
come
yeah, he
back.
just needs time away.
I do. I definitely do think that. And but yeah, I think a fantastic coach. Definitely overshadowed by the Bounty Gate situation, which he did have a significant role in. Um, but
Well, I know
yeah,
Vilma didn't. I know Velma made them apologize. That was the only guy that said, "Look, everybody else is saying this is much ado about nothing. And I'll take my suspension." Vilma was concerned about his good name, and he actually made the commissioner apologize. He went out of his way because how do you prove you didn't do it? So for him to go out of his way to find ways to make people believe he didn't do it, he's like, I don't know what the hell y'all talking about, and apologize. So, sorry to
but
interrupt.
22 out of 27 players,
Yeah, I don't mean,
22.
yeah.
So he was one of five.
Offering money, offering bonuses for taking people's heads off. For people listening
Yeah.
at home that don't know what Bounty Gate was, basically they were offered unofficial bonuses. They got extra checks in the mail for putting a little extra sauce on some of these hits.
Well,
That
for taking a player out of the game,
yeah,
or knocking a player unconscious,
yeah,
or having them carted off was an even higher penalty, or
right.
having them not come back for the game.
It
I
was a
mean, those
higher
are all
bonus. Yeah,
vicious.
those are all
Those are
but
all things that are illegal now,
yeah.
right? Like they had, and it wasn't illegal back then. You could helmet to helmet. You could, hit a defensive
They did
receiver.
let a lot of that
Like,
go.
and that's what's it's so interesting when you look back at the sport where people say the sport's soft now, and all these ticky tack defensive pass interference penalties, but I still like watching the football I still like watching the football players I came to watch. At the end of the day, I do want to protect something about the game. I don't just want it to be. This is why it's kind of interesting about why they're talking about man in the arena, because it was gladiators at a certain point. These guys were getting taken out. These guys were getting concussions that we don't even know about. But I mean, I can only imagine what the CTE percentage rate is in the 1980s, 1990s. I mean,
That movie
back to the
Concussion really
60s
brought it
even.
to our attention, though, didn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, just the fact that you hitting heads with another person is like a mild concussion. Like, I can only imagine what happens when two people are, full force, and you see it when it's on the screen and you're like, oh, this one's gonna hurt. You feel it. So, geez. I mean, Debo it was a clean tackle last night.
It wasn't
And
even helmet. It was shoulder to
it wasn't.
numbers.
It was a helmet, chest to chest, shoulder to shoulder, and man, he got the wind knocked out of him. He came back, played the rest of the game. But again, that's a clean tackle,
Yeah, Beckham
right?
got drilled
Imagine
too.
getting.
Remember Beckham
Yes,
on
he
the way
did,
down,
and it
like
got
a helmet
flagged, and it
first.
got flagged, and it got
Yeah,
flagged.
that was a douche hit, dude. That was a douchebag hit.
But he also said, "My bad." But hey, when you playing for that, that's what you bring. If you get 15 yards for that, all right. But I'm also trying to dislodge the ball. That's what we're
Yeah.
going for. So
Yep.
don't be upset, Odell.
Yeah. Well, it's very much like the Knicks. The Knicks were willing to get the flagrant foul to send a message.
Right.
Um,
Which
look.
again is within reason,
Yep.
but you're gonna have a penalty for it.
So you brought up some
Can't
very,
just
very, very valid points about Sean Payton. Allow me to take a few seconds to do the other. But before I do the other, hope Rob Flores gets the job. Yeah, I thought he got a bum deal at Miami, and I hope that they at least interview him. All right, because we do need. It's predominantly black league, and Flores showed everybody that you have some highly intelligent coaches, and I don't know why black coaches are the only one getting fired for having winning records, but that's a whole. Maybe we'll talk more about that next episode. What I'd like to remember about Peyton, him and Breeze said this town is hurting. And we don't know if there's enough money in the world we can donate to help, but what we can do is play good football to provide a distraction, entertainment, escapism, and even inspiration to the city of New Orleans. And that is how everyone wants to remember Drew Brees and Sean Payton. What you pointed out is very important because Bounty Gate lasted for years and it changed the way people police football. So that was very important too, and that has to be remembered, has to be cited. But what else has to be remembered is that for the people that can't understand how someone throwing a touchdown to someone inspires someone to get a job Monday morning, what's the logical connection? What's the correlation? Where I don't understand. And for me and you, Rob, there's two kinds of people that don't understand. There's one that said, I don't understand, and they don't want to. They don't want to understand. And then there's the other one that says, I don't understand, but I want to. Talk to me. And those are the people I'm talking to right now. And my answer is, I don't know how. All I know is that it does. All I know is that the Giants beating the Patriots in that Super Bowl, let me tell you something. That family was happy, and they were doing other things unrelated to football more positively because they saw something that they thought was positive that inspired them. Go ahead, Rob. I don't want you to lose that thought.
No, I was just gonna say, just to piggyback off of it, what I believe it is, and this is why I believe that a lot of athletes should be not pushed but driven to go to upper level management positions in business, is because all athletes have to do each and every time they touch a ball or sport is to figure out how things mesh together, and that's pretty much all that's going on. Is just like you're finding little pieces that don't work and you put them together. That's all we do as athletes. So, that's just how it kind of comes through. And, the little things come together to make the bigger things. You see somebody win a Super Bowl, you see somebody win a game, or you see somebody, each and every quarter trying their very best. And at the end of the game, you finally win. It makes going to the job 5 days a week a lot easier because there's an end goal. You understand that the end goal is the small games, the 12-5 record. Yeah, but they were 0-0. I'm 0-0 right now. I got to build each and every day so that I can get to my goal. And I think that's really what the message is going, how you can be inspired, because you can relate. They're in a job. Yeah, they're making a shit ton more money than me, but there are plenty of people making more money than I am. right? They're at a job, they're enjoying their job, and they're getting to do that job to go support their family and go home and be with their family. And do they care about the money? No, the thing that most of these athletes care about is the time they can spend with their family, right? Because no matter how much you think that NFL athletes, NBA athletes, MLB athletes, they are just living this glamorous life, most of them have to not see their families for 6 to 8 months every single year, miss huge portions of their child and their family's life every single year. But yet, all we get to see is the glamorous things or the things that they love a lot, which is the sport they get to play. But that doesn't mean they're not dealing with things on the back end, or that Dennis Rodman's trying to go home every single weekend, or Sean Taylor's going home every single weekend to go see their family because that matters the most to them.
Rob been going to Vegas, boy. I remember that documentary, Jordan and Scotty told Phil, look, I
Yep.
understand what you did, but you're not going to see him back. He ain't coming back on time for the game.
Nope.
Well said, Rob. Well said, Rob. And is there anything you'd like to say to our audience before we leave this episode, but not their presence?
Just stay happy, stay healthy, y'all.
Stay happy, stay healthy. Rob McLean loves you people. And I think this week, I love you people too, man. We're pre-recording this, so we had a lot to unpack, but me and Rob do our best work at the last minute. Very, very fun episode, my friend. I'd reach out and Zoom handshake you right now, but we'll be back in studio doing this all again next week or in Zoom again. But our fans, we'll be back next week and can count on us. We're going to go through some Super Bowl picks. We also got our Asanya and Whitaker, our Super Bowl weekend. Going to be a lot to discuss. But until then, from my man, Rob, keep it McLean. I'm Jason DeBellis. This is Sports Debate Tuesday. Thanks, people. We're out. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionDB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.